Hi, I'm Old Norse specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford. Today on my channel, I wanted to give you a behind-the-scenes look at the making of the audiobook of my second book of translations, The Saga of the Volsungs with the Saga of Ragnar Lothbrok. Here with me today is the sound engineer working with me on this project and also on the Poetic Edda, Tess van Landen. What can you tell us about Coop Studios where we're doing this project?
Well, this is one of the largest recording studios in Boulder, Colorado. We do a lot of stuff here, from music to post-production sound design for ads and for different film and TV shows and stuff like that. And we also do a fair amount of audiobooks, so it's been really fun to have you in. This is something a little different from the work we normally do.
And audiobooks been kind of a specialization for you, right?
Yeah, for me, that's mostly what I do here. Is I work on the audiobooks of any type, anywhere from very fiction, young adult, to this sort of stuff.
Right. And tell the folks out there in YouTube land what they should do if they want to do what you do as a sound engineer.
Oh, definitely. Well, for audiobooks specifically, or just
for anything, I suppose. I mean, it's an interesting field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I personally have a degree in audio engineering from Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. You don't have to have a degree. It is a field that definitely relies more on skill than on a piece of paper. So if it's something that you're really passionate about, trying to get an internship or just spend some time observing at a local studio in your area is a great way to just sort of get a foot in the door, learn how to use the equipment, and just sort of get started down this path.
I see. And on the other end of the equation, what should people do if they want to record, I don't know, commercials or something?
On commercials, that's definitely a little bit more, not rare, but getting into commercial work is something they definitely do prefer you have some sort of education and background in it. It's a lot of sound design. You have to have a lot of knowledge on different types of sound design, different types of sound processing, on doing Foley, on doing a lot of different effects like that. So there you'll definitely want to find a specialized like post-production studio, which you're usually also pretty common around there.
And I imagine that's where a lot of the money for the studio comes from, is from that kind of commercial work, right?
Yeah, that's where the majority of the income for this studio comes from, which makes it really nice because then we can keep our rates lower for clients like yourself, who we would really like to be working with, but who don't have the budgets that the commercial work does.
Right. Well, I happen not to be paying for this. That's Blackstone Publishing. But
well, I'm sure they're grateful.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Well, thank you very much for your time. And now we'll give you a look at what it's like both on my side of the studio and on Tessa's side of the studio.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. So the way that this works is we've got a preamp right here. We use Grace preamps in most of the rooms here at Coop. So the preamp's just where his voice comes in, and that way I can control the volume. So then I route the preamp into a compressor, which we use a UA 11876 compressor. And that, what it does is it makes the dynamics of his voice, so some of it's going to be really loud and some of it's going to be really soft. It kind of smushes it together. So instead of being very dynamic, it becomes less so. And that way, if you're listening in a car or something like that, it doesn't get louder and softer. It stays at the same volume. And then that goes into our recording software, which is Pro Tools, which is the industry standard for most recording studios. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, let me go ahead and pull you in. Go ahead and just read a little bit for me.
All right. They told me to stand while the island lasts, a man covered in thorns and moss. The rain wets me, and I am covered by neither flesh nor clothing. Tell us about your heroism, I ask you. Where did you see the blood-drunk raven calling from a branch? I think you've more often accepted drinks at other feasts.
All right, that sounds good.
All right. Oilimi was the name of a rich and powerful king. His daughter was named Hjördís, the wisest and most beautiful of women. Why do I keep saying queen? King Sigmund heard that if this woman was not his match, none would be, and he went to the home of King Oilimi. Oilimi prepared a great feast for Sigmund, with the provision that Sigmund did not come with an army. But messengers went between the kings, saying that Sigmund came in friendship and without hostile intent. The feast was to feature all the best food and a large crowd. And everywhere King Sigmund went on his way, markets and other traveling conveniences were provided, until he finally came to the feast, and the two kings shared one hall. until he finally came to the feast, and the two kings shared one hall. King Lyngvi, son of Hunding, was also there at that feast, and he also meant to win Oylimi's daughter for his wife. Oylimi did not think that Lyngvi and Sigmund could both get what they had come for, and he expected hostility from the one who did not. King Oylimi said to his daughter, "You are a wise woman, and I have declared that you will choose your own husband. Choose between these two kings, and my decision will support yours." She answered, "This is a difficult decision for me, though I will choose the king who is most famous. That is King Sigmund, although he is getting old." And so she was married to King Sigmund, and King Lyngvi went away. And each day the guests were served with better food and with more enthusiasm. And after that King Sigmund went home to Hunland, and King Oylimi, his father-in-law, went with him and looked after his kingdom. But King Lyngvi and his brothers now assembled an army and went to attack King Sigmund, because they had always lost to him in matters big or small, and now this marriage loomed largest. They wanted to test themselves against the heroism of the Volsungs, and they came into Hunland and sent Sigmund a message. They did not wish to ambush him, and they believed that he would not flee. King Sigmund agreed to come to the battle. He gathered an army and sent Queen Hjordis. I kind of flipped that. He gathered an army and sent Queen Hjordis to the forest with a serving woman and a great deal of treasure. She was there while the battle took place. The Vikings leapt from their ships with an enormous army. King Sigmund and King Oylimi set up their banners and the trumpets were blown. King Sigmund gave orders to blow the horn that had belonged to his father, and this was the way he urged his men forward. Sigmund had a much smaller army than Oylimi. A great battle now began, and though Sigmund was old, he fought hard and he was always at the front of his men. Neither shield nor armor could protect a man from him, and he went again and again into the army of his enemies on that day, and no one could see what the outcome would be of this battle between the two armies. Many spears and arrows were in the air. But Sigmund's family spirits protected him so that he was not injured, and no one could count how many men fell by his hand. Both of his arms were covered in blood up to the shoulders. And when the fighting had continued for a while, a man appeared in the fray who was dressed in a long hat and a blue cloak. He had only one eye and a spear in his hand. This man charged against Sigmund and hefted up the spear at him. And when Sigmund struck hard with his sword, he hit the spear shaft and his blade broke into two pieces. Now the tide of the battle turned, and Sigmund's luck left him, and much of his army was killed. Sigmund stopped even trying to defend himself, and he continued to urge his troops on. Now it went like the saying goes, that no one can compete against superior numbers. Both King Sigmund and King Oylimi, his father-in-law, fell in this battle. They were at the front of his troops, and most of Sigmund's men fell with him. Well, I'm sure no rock star like the folks that use these guitars are behind me, but working at Coop Studios with this cool equipment and the great professionals here sure has made me feel like one. For now, from beautiful Colorado, I'm wishing you all the best.